Good evening, everybody. It is I, Claude Bawles, and yes, back again for another little show. We had one earlier on today, and I think that was quite worthwhile. And it was a bit disturbing to see the way some so-called Christians carry on and treat their fellow people. But just in response to one part of that video, talking about narcissism and what is a narcissist, and of course, narcissists are pretty well in love with themselves. So, in that case, I come across something very interesting. The man known as Achilles, who he's a very big participant in the show of ProverbsGuy and the Stephen Bowlin. He said, first of all, that if you're not a Christian, you're virtually automatically a narcissist. It's a rather silly claim, if I'm allowed to use that word. And then he also says one of the big signs is a lack of empathy. I tend to agree with him on that. A lack of empathy is a big sign for someone who is a narcissist. So I just happen to be looking on some other channels and find out some more things. And lo and behold, I find Mr. Stephen Bowlin also talking about someone who shows a complete lack of empathy. And strangely enough, it was Mr. Kent Hovind, the well-known preacher man who claim to have doctorates, not just one, but four. I think he got them on a buy three, get one free scheme. So maybe he has some sort of an ed for business. Anyway, so I thought we would just have a look at this. And it's from the channel of the Big Bad Mama, and it shows an interview with Mr. Bowlin. And actually, many of the things he says here, I agree with. So I think that's quite remarkable, just to show I'm a very fair person. So let's have a listen to this, and we will make some comments as we go on. So once again, sorry, I share the screen, and here we go. Let's share.
Grew up on Kent Hovind, watching his videos. I was homeschooled, and he was a good portion of our curriculum growing.
Well, so that gives you something to know about Stephen's background. And he was homeschooled, which is probably not a surprise. He grew up on Kent Hovind's videos, and Kent was a good proportion of his curriculum. So probably he hasn't had a very good start in life, educationally speaking. But never mind, we can't do anything about that now, really, although we are trying.
Growing up. So he was a common household name for me and one of my personal heroes through most of my life, except for the 10-year gap where he was in prison. And I really believe that's part of Kent Hovind's con, is he gets you introduced to these God-fearing people, and you feel the love, and you feel like you have a purpose finally, and you're actually working with your hands to help God build the kingdom, until it all flips on you. I didn't meet a single person who had a bad thing to say about it, but that's part of the scam too, is how he rotates people out.
Yeah.
As soon as they catch on to who he really is, he has to send them away so they don't pollute the next wave.
Yes.
And he's keeping up an endless cycle of rotation for workers.
Wow.
It's a very in-depth scam. When I first arrived, I looked at Kent Hovind right under saint status. Like
Yeah.
I did. I
Over
idolized
saint
him.
status. Thrill is gone.
The honeymoon ended quickly, and someone had called you a very derogative word, which Kent did not defend you.
Uh,
And from what Mark was telling me is Kent was defending the other person.
a very derogative word. I'm not sure what that means. I think he means to say a very derogatory word, which, of course, if he hadn't been homeschooled, he would probably know that. So once again, maybe not his fault.
Steve.
I thought it was Steve, but then I thought you said it may have been Ernie.
Okay, so when I had 7 witnesses tell Kent Hovind that I was not lying, and 7 witnesses say that Steve was lying, particularly Kenny and Timmy knew firsthand that Steve was lying because they had received the drugs from him.
Okay, so here we are talking about this was a tech guy at Dinosaur Adventure Land. His name was Steve, and many issues caused there, and allegations of the drugs and virtually the sex, drugs, and the rock and roll going on right under Mr. Irvin's nose. But Steve maybe had something over him, something that Mr. Irvin needed, and so he turned the what you call the blind eye, and yet at least 2 of Irvin's 4 wives, 2 out of 4, 50%. That's in case you don't understand the math if you were homeschooled or took Mr. Hovind's math, but 50% of the wives were very concerned about this guy, Steve the tech man, but Irvin dismissed their claims. Eventually, he had to get rid of him, but who knows what went on.
And Mark Stoney also said, well, Steve has lied on multiple occasions, and I believe Kenny and Timmy, they're not lying, they are confessing.
Right.
Why would they confess?
They had nothing to gain and everything to lose.
And so Kent, rather than saying, wow, 7 witnesses, my wife must be telling me the truth. No, instead he calls Ernie. That's where Ernie came into the picture. Kent called Ernie, and Ernie proceeds to tell everybody there that I'm Korah, that Kent Hovind is Moses, and that I'm leading Korah's rebellion. Then anybody who stands up for me will be kicked off campus.
So Ernie was the maybe one of the big trustees of the ministry, and a big Owen supporter. Although I understand I haven't heard much about him lately. So perhaps Mr. Hovind or Mr. Bowlin can confirm: is he still a trustee of the ministry? It would be just interesting to know, or is he, shall we say, left under quiet circumstances?
And then you walked by when I was already gone, and you heard apparently Steve on the phone calling me
an effing bitch.
Yes.
Which apparently I hear was a routine for him.
Correct.
And it was also apparently routine for Kent Hovind to not defend his wife in that way.
Yeah.
Which I found then, and I still find mind-boggling. How do you reconcile with not coming to your wife's defense? Like, that's sick and demented.
The only way is if he believes that it's true and that I deserve it. And that's what he always tells me. He said, you deserved it.
That's because he in himself is a demented man. I mean, he's a con artist. He's one of the best. He is the best con artist I've ever heard of.
Goodness me, that is quite a strong language from Mr. Bowlin there. So obviously he has seen some things to cause concern.
I don't know anyone who could match him. To pull in the donations from real God-fearing people and to have the wool pulled over their eyes that much, you've got to really know what you're selling, you know? And he's good at that. But he's good at it. He's good at it by limiting the information exchanged in that place. In order to stay there long term, you need to keep your ears shut, because once you find out and catch on to what their scam is, you're no longer valuable. And that's when Kent has to get rid of you.
And since I was his wife, he had to do it in a more covert way.
Right.
Gaslight the hell out of her so she'll leave.
Well, that is Kent's MO. I never saw him send anybody away because he just didn't like them. He always pushed them until they snapped, or until he found fault in them somewhere, so that him asking them to leave was not on his hands. It was their own fault.
I wash my hands of the matter.
Right. And that's exactly what we saw him doing with you then. And now it's apparent to the whole world, anyone with a quarter of a brain, that that's what he did to you. He pushed and poked and prodded you until he had something to make him look like he would be justified by sending you away. Well, you know, that's who Kent Hovind is. It's never Kent Hovind's fault. It's always the government, or wife 1, or wife 2, or wife 3, and soon wife 4, or it's this worker or that worker. Nothing that has ever happened to Kent Hovind has been Kent Hovind's fault.
And that is exactly right. Stephen has got it right there. And I would think also this is very much the mark of a narcissist. Never, never, ever his fault. And of course, in the song that was up on the Big Bad Mama channel by me, you can see that it's never my fault. It's never my fault. They're always the ones that go. God told me I'm the boss, you know. So yeah, you listen to that song, I would tell you more of the truth. But this is very interesting stuff coming from Stephen here.
Because he refuses to accept anything as being at his own. Well, and you think, looking back, you're like, well, if Kent Hovind has a problem with me, it has to be me. Surely it can't be this mighty man of God, and it can't be on him. So I need to change myself. And he gets you to buy into it. He gets you to believe.
Wow.
It's sick. It's the
insidious.
greatest con of all time. A couple of us gathered together while working and talked about it. Like, has Cindy told you guys she's not allowed to talk to anyone? And then I think Mark's the one that filled me in that it was just causing you problems. Because anytime you said anything, anytime you tried to get involved in help, Ken would turn it around on you. And then it would become, no matter who was at fault, it would become your fault.
He really was trying to drive me out.
Yeah. I mean, we started seeing that while we were there. It's sad.
This is damning for Kent Hovind.
If more people would come out, it could be, and it should be. And anyone who is a Kent Hovind fan, I grew up on Kent Hovind. I dressed up for Halloween one time in my whole life, and I dressed up as Kent Hovind. I had the burgundy suit. I had the dinosaur tie. Like, I loved Kent Hovind.
Goodness me. Put on the same level as a superhero. Oh dear. Mr. Stevens' judgment is quite questionable here.
And I'm begging you, if you're a supporter of his, send your money somewhere else.
Yeah.
If you want to go visit Dinosaur Adventureland and see for yourself, fine. But do not give this fraud any more of your money. Give it to a ministry that actually cares about God's kingdom.
Okay, so actually, as I say, there's many things, many wise words here from Stephen.
It's like Kent Hovind wants Kent Hovind's portion, but he wants God's portion too. He's very greedy when it comes to your attention and your affection. He wants it all to himself.
He wants your affection. He's threatened or offended that you would go to God directly and not him for all wisdom.
And everybody there, I feel like, legitimately wanted to serve God in a ministry. So to hear that was kind of heartbreaking, but it was also another fear technique because you didn't want to be thrown out of this ministry. And then for most people, once you have nothing left, unless you're a heck of a worker, you just have no more value. That it would make sense that Satan would have to attack it so often through Kent Hovind's actions. You know, if Satan himself didn't have Kent set up there, Dinosaur Adventureland would thrive as a ministry. And that's a threat to Satan's kingdom. I even got to the point when I was there of questioning if that was the scheme. You just always have to have a project going to keep the donations coming in. And if you're out of projects, what do? Well, you build everything crappy the first time, so you got to redo it. And that's the scheme. But that's because Kent Hovind doesn't legitimately care about the people coming to visit. He
Right.
doesn't care about the safety of the kids. We've seen that. We know that. And the workers there do. We care if kids get hurt there. He doesn't. I mean, what's his famous saying? Just make another one?
You can always make
You can
another
always
one.
make another one.
Yes, so that is part of this business of a lack of empathy, because this was said also in the aftermath of the boy drowning, sadly drowning, or as Kent pronounces it, drowning. Maybe, no, I don't think Kent was homeschooled, but it's just sort of just one of his things that he says. I don't understand. Drowning?
And he believes
Unfortunately,
that.
that's not a joke, right?
No, and
It's not a joke.
and he believes that wholeheartedly. At first you think, okay, he's just being funny, but you get to a point where you realize, okay, he's not. He really has no concern. The workers I've seen get hurt there. I don't know if any three words have ever described Kent Hovind better than lack of empathy.
Whoa. So, any three words, he doesn't know of any three words that have described Kent Hovind better than lack of empathy. And this fits in exactly with what Achilles said on the Bowlin ProverbsGuy channel when they were talking about narcissism. That's the definition of narcissism. So it's great to have these two men of God confirming that another man of supposedly God is a narcissist.
I saw that, and I don't even want to go back into it deep, but when the boy drowned and we went to the hospital and we were all weeping in the hallway, and the boy's parents were in the next room crying over him because he was gone, Kent Hovind was in the lobby passing out pamphlets and asking people to come visit.
Wow. So there you have it. That when Stephen Bowlin was at the hospital and obviously trying to comfort the family of the boy who drowned, Kent Hovind had leaflets for his Dino land and was handing them out to the people at the hospital. And it is just unbelievable. I really don't need to comment anymore on that. We will listen to a few more minutes before I close this stream.
There was no compassion. There was no remorse, no regret, no empathy, nothing. The fake smile on his face, that moment is what tainted his image for me permanently. I saw then that there was nothing genuine about him, that it was just a numbers game. And I think in the back of my mind, you know, that saying that he did repeatedly, you can just make another one, was going around and around and around. Like, that's when I realized he really meant that. Like, no child is special to him. You can always make another one. You were a blessing there. You made that place more bearable. When you realize that if it's not a cult, it's just a work camp in the guise of a ministry, you know, your brothers and sisters there who have the same heart as you, that's the only thing that keeps you from just going crazy, going mad, because Kent won't stop poking and prodding until he gets what he wants, and then he can send you away because he found a reason. So, as a father of four, my warning to all of you guys, first of all, don't sell everything you have to move to DAL. Please don't do that. And if you have money burning a hole in your pocket, don't send it to DAL. Give it to an orphan or give it to a widow. Please don't give this man your money. It's not going to the kingdom like you think it is. Multiple people accused of pedophilia or convicted of pedophilia are on the property with your children. I want you to understand, nobody who goes to DAL is vetted. No one. My family wasn't vetted. No one there is
And
vetted.
he wouldn't care, even if he vetted you and you were a criminal, he'd let you on anyway.
Exactly. And then,
obviously, Steve was running from the law from Missouri.
and that was a lie that Steve told in his video, the one he did at midnight, driving around all high and loopy and giving the midnight tour of DAL. He said, Chris Jones has been here like twice since I've been involved in 4 years. And I'm like, you liar.
Yeah,
Chris
big lie.
Jones was there 4 times in the 4 months I was there. Or
So that's very interesting again. And what he is talking about here is the infamous midnight visit when, for some reason, this tech Steve guy, who seemed to be under the influence of some sort of substance, got in his Jeep and drove to DAL and gave this midnight tour. And that's where we learned that Mr. Irvin has a spa pool. And we did not know about that before. A hot tub, I think, is the word you use. And remember, this is the same Mr. Irvin who doesn't want to pay for the electricity for the volunteer workers to have a hot shower at the end of the day. Anything more than 2 minutes, too long. 2 minutes. I can have it in this amount of time. And rah, 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 rah. And but what we didn't know was that after he had his massage, the various secretaries providing that massage, that because for medical reasons, of course, very legitimate, he would be in the hot tub, or as I call it, the spa pool. Don't use my spa pool. Anyway, so that's how we learnt about this. For those, otherwise we would never know. So the guy put his foot in it right and proper, and the video was up for about a day before it completely disappears. No doubt, Mr. Overton had words, and eventually, of course, the text even. About the same time, we had learned that someone was donating a Jeep to be sold, and perhaps that was because the donations money possibly had helped buy that Jeep in the first place. Things are pretty loose there as far as money goes. So Stephen is quite right when he says, do not donate to the urban ministry. Don't. Use your money yourself. Do something for God. Feed the poor, for goodness sake. Feed the poor. That, I think, would be a very good use of you have spare money. But not this DIL and Ovend.
3 times in the 4 months I was there. And I didn't even know about Brady Byram at the time. But
okay, so he's saying that Gus Jones, the one who's the convicted, for the fiddling, he or diddling or whatever the word is in English, he had actually been to Dinosaur Adventureland more times than Owen would admit. And then he said he didn't even know at that stage about the Brady. Brady was, well, we found that out on one of Stephen's channel. I think he's taken it down, but some people have preserved the copies, of course, where Stephen is interviewing Ovid because they all got back together and he began to support Ovid again. Oh, how things changed. And under questioning, Mr. Owen said that the Brady was guilty of doing something pretty awful. And under further questioning, but he said, look, it was whatever, 35 years ago, and one of his own kids. So obviously a very loving father. And we'll never really get to the bottom of that. But obviously Stephen knew about it, and Ovend said things about it on when he was being interviewed by Stephen. Oh, was it this year? Maybe late last year, this year. But they have preserved the copy because Mr. Bowlin, I think, may have taken it down. Sometimes these things get embarrassing, later.
knowing those two in the circle, and then I've seen another video come out that there's a third pedophile that's close friends with Kent that comes and goes. And it's like, man, that is a lot of unsafe circumstances to have in a ministry geared towards children.
Yes, I don't know anything about the third one. I mean, maybe that's something Stephen can tell us about if he wants to. But I think the main point is that you've got this man Ovend, and he is allowing people on the property, who most reasonable people would pose some sort of a threat. And even if they don't pose a threat, you know, you don't put temptation in front of people. You know, if somebody is an alcoholic and they're very serious about getting over it, what they do is they never touch alcohol again, because once they do, woof, you know, down the same path again. So they have control and discipline. And so if you're a friend of a person like that, you don't let them put temptation in their way. So, yeah, here we go.
And it just gets to a point where you have to question, is there something deeper involved here? And God, please have mercy, that's not the case. But it's something that parents bringing your children there need to be aware of. Kent defends these people, and he defends what they did. And even with Chris Jones, he defends it as, well, Chris Jones was just playing strip poker with a 10-year-old. Oh my God. Chris Jones was playing strip poker with a 10-year-old? Like, is that not enough? Kent Hovind's going to be talking about how righteous he is and how he's being attacked again. And he's going to make himself out to be a King David. And he is no King David. He is no King David. He works for the enemy. If you can sear your conscience, you can be successful there. But if...
Okay. Yeah, if you can sear your conscience, you can be successful.
If you're a morally upright person whatsoever, it only takes about 30 days to figure out what's really going on.
Okay, so I think we've heard enough. That was very interesting. Remember, what sparked this off is the discussion on the ProverbsGuy channel about narcissism. And I thought it was a very interesting discussion. And where we hear the Achilles say that first, that which I don't agree with, that you know, atheists or they're narcissists, but you know, Christians, they probably get off scot-free, who would know? But then he comes up with the definition, and he's talking about one of the ways to look is a lack of empathy. And then, like it's almost some kind of coincidence, I find this video where Mr. Bowlin is talking about Mr. Hovind and his lack of empathy. So, interesting, huh? Oh, Father Charles, I'm putting on the stage.
Hello there, my friend.
Sorry, I didn't. I was so busy, I got carried away. How are you?
I thought you would build to me or something.
No. I just been, because I watched the thing on the one of the ministries where they're talking about narcissism, and it was funny. We were told that automatically, if you're atheist, you're a narcissist, because it just was crazy. So anyway, I found some things, and I also look at another one. I can't remember which one. I talk about it on my previous show, where Stephen was a little bit rude to our good friend Faithful. I thought he was a bit snappy. But anyway,
what video was that?
That was the one. Yeah, I find it while we were talking. But it was one where Stephen asked Faithful how many masters were there, and she said one, and he said, "Mom, there are two." And you know, because it's getting confusing, because you're meant to serve one master, but he said there are two masters, and one is obviously God, and one is like Satan. He pronounces it a bit different for me, Satan. And then, but I read the Bible a bit more, and it talks about other masters, like people who have slaves. They're masters too. So I just thought it was a bit nitpicky. Yeah. So, and how are you?
I'm good. Kind of a boring day. I was going to have a show tonight. I couldn't think of a good title, so I thought I'd take a break.
If you're going to,
I'm subscribed to your channel. I got a notification, so I thought I'd pop over and see how you were doing. How's that?
Well, that was very nice. It was a bit last minute for me.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought, oh well, and of course nobody has been on, but that's all right. I can do some talking. But I always like it when when someone can
It's probably
come
hard for
on.
you to schedule. What you're in France right now? Is that correct?
And no, I'm
Oh,
currently in Australasia. I'm going to be alternating between the New Zealand and the Australia for a
okay.
while.
So
Yeah,
what time? It's tomorrow already down there, isn't it? Or
yes, it's Monday.
okay.
Monday, and it's 2:31 in the afternoon. So it's
Uh,
actually a better time for me than when I'm in France. If I want to, it's like in the middle
gotcha.
of the night, early morning. So,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
mm,
it's 9:30 here. So at least
but
on the east coast of the United States.
yeah, I'm not sure um, what how long. I think I'd be here for a while, and but it's certainly the longer I am here, it's the better for having a show.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
yeah.
Mm.
So, well, I tried to bring. I didn't mean to interrupt your show. If you want to continue
Oh,
on with
well,
what you were.
I'd really finished the show itself. Unless there's
Oh,
anything you want to discuss, I can just end the stream. We can just have a little chat
oh no,
before I
you can keep.
go. Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
whatever you want to do, you can keep it.
yeah.
Whatever, if you want to
Live?
keep
Oh, yes. Yeah, yeah. I'll keep
whatever
it
you want
live
to
for a
do.
little bit long. I don't try to do the too long, you know.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah, you
some of
mean
them go.
like one of mine that goes 3 hours?
Well, I actually enjoy it, but as the host, you've got a lot to do, keeping an eye on it. It gets very tiring. But
Yeah,
when you're just participating, it's easy.
true, true.
Yeah, so for me, after even an hour, oh, I'm getting so tired. But just keeping an eye on everything, and
Mhm.
I'm only learning, still how to
Right,
do
I
it
know.
and get it
Did
right.
you figure out the live tab? You clicked.
Yes, yes. But
Okay,
what I
good.
would like to do if I can get it to share in videos too, but I don't think that's possible. I think
Share a
it
video.
just
I
always
think you got to give me permission. Let me see. Well,
right. But what
let's
can I
see.
do
Let me
here?
see what it does when I try to share one.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh,
Well, let's see. Yeah, I
mm.
could. Let's. I don't know. Let's see. Downloads. Is this what you're talking about?
Oh, well, no, I like if I search your channel, for example,
Okay.
and
Okay.
I look and I see Father Charles Official, and I see it will say live or videos or
Mhm.
playlist. I can
Uh-huh.
or home. I can click under those, and I get different
Mhm.
different videos. When I
Right. Right.
search my one, I click on live and I find videos. But if I click on videos, it's nothing, and I wonder how you.
Okay, and I can
Yeah.
explain that to you.
Oh, good. Yeah.
If you pre-record
Ah,
a
right.
video, okay, and
There's
then
videoing.
after you're
Yeah,
complete, then you
yeah.
upload it through YouTube, then that
Ah,
will
right.
fall under your videos.
Oh, that's good. That's
But
interesting. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it appears that you've done everything live, am I right, since you
Yes,
started
that's right.
this?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so,
yeah.
yes, it's always gonna fall under live. Again, if
Ah,
you do
right.
a pre-recorded,
Yeah,
um and then say, okay, I'm going to upload this. I like this video, even though it's pre-recorded.
yeah.
That'll come under your video tab. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Um, yes. Look, I will end the stream, but don't go away, and I
Okay.
can give you the link to this other thing. But I say good night to anybody who happens to be listening. Well, good afternoon, but good night for you.
Mhm.
And I will now talk to the Father Charles just as a friend, and see you next time the urge takes us. Okay. Bye.